here at Office Centers?
Yeah.
Woo! We're ready to raise the roof? And do we have an awesome speaker to raise the roof right along with us? This gal's energy is contagious. Over the top positive energy. We love having her as a member of our community. And I get to introduce Maria Lynn Johnson to all of you with my glasses on. Maria Lynn Johnson is a speaking coach, keynote speaker, best-selling author, and founder of Speaking Mastery. She teaches smart but stalled business owners, I love that, how to harness their power, focus their message, and give a talk that helps them stand out in the crowd. For 20 years, Maria coached leaders to higher performance in Fortune 500 companies, and in 2012, she left her six-figure corporate job and launched her training and consulting company. Bye-bye corporate office, hello dining room table. Do we have a deal for you? Reality quickly set in, and she spent years just scraping by and reached a point where she was too broke to even file bankruptcy. I think she's going to tell us about that. With hard work and determination, Maria finally found that right speaking formula to again reach six figures, this time on her own. Now she shares the approach with other professionals so they can become more purposeful and profitable. Maria is a certified coach, has a master's degree from the University of St. Thomas. She's a member of the Forbes Coaches Council and the author of an awesome book that everybody should buy a copy in the back room of, and that would be The World's Greatest Speakers, Insider Secrets on How to Engage and Move Your Audience to Action. With that, everyone here and at our 6 locations, at Woodbury too, first time at Woodbury, woohoo! Let's all welcome Maria.
This is your Power Lunch, and it's all about power. It's about your power, your voice, your message, and your brand. So today, I'm going to show you how to tap into that power so that you can stand and give a talk that stands out and delivers results. I'm going to just go out on a limb here and guess that this is really, really important for all of us here. Because your message, your voice, standing in front of others, speaking is what drives your business. And oftentimes it's easy to overlook that. But not today. So today you're going to walk out specifically with techniques on how to stand up and speak and present. We're also going to cover a lot around your mindset and your energy, how to get up there and how to think about it and how to get more comfortable about it. And my challenge to you today is for you to see and believe and know that your voice is much more powerful than you think. And we'll be talking more about that. So let us dive in. I'm going to guess also some things about you. Let me know if I have anybody that resonates with some of the things on the screen. I'm going to guess you want people to be interested in what you say when you stand up. You want to be able to do it in a way that they listen. You want to somehow stand out from others and not be a commodity. That's the challenge, isn't it? That's the thing that can happen, especially if you're in an area that a lot of people work in, financial, health and wellness. How do you stand out? The other key thing that you may want to know how to do, and it took me a long time to do this, for the creative types, hi, welcome, is how to pull together all of those pieces, all of the ideas that you have, the different skills. I can do this, I want to help these people, I want to do, how do you pull it all together and harness it so that you can have a focused, concise platform and deliver it with conviction? Let me know if that resonates with you. And you want others to see the value, of course, in what you have to offer. Those of you who already speak may just want to move up to a more advanced level. We will cover that. Whichever end of the spectrum you're at today, this will be value add for you. So you've tried everything. You don't know what's missing. Today, my goal is for you to get that answer. I will begin by telling you, stop trying harder. Isn't that what we do? We have problems, we can't figure it out, so we book more meetings, we book more coffee meetings, we spend more time on social media, we work harder, we stay up later. It's not about trying harder, right? Because it just burns you out. Anybody been there, done that? So here's a quote that I really, really like. It's from a book. If you don't have this book, I highly recommend it. For those of you who don't like to read long books, it's very thin and it packs a punch. It's called U Squared. And this is a quote from it. Sooner or later, you're going to reach a point where you can't try any harder. And you'll reach a point of diminishing return. So trying harder just produces less and less. So let's talk about what else you can do. For you and for everybody who's watching in the other sites, what's going to move the needle for you? I really want you to think about that today when you hear these things. I want you to think about, what is it that I talk about? What is it that I offer people? Where am I at with that? How comfortable am I? How focused and clear am I? And what about that is just the tweak? Maybe there's just a small thing you need to do to just, tip the needle, move the needle. I want you to think about that today. Yes, this is me. I was always in music. Anybody music band? Okay, all right, my people. Moving the needle is what I did my entire life. Music, dancing, drum major for the high school band. That's an old picture, you can probably tell that. Moving the needle for that meant, how do I adjust my armature so that the song comes out better in my saxophone? How do I elevate my embodiment of the music as a drum major so it gets just a little bit more out of people? Right? How do I say my line just a little bit differently so that I get a laugh from the audience? These little things tip the needle. And I will tell you, back then, and even moving into corporate life, I had no clue what I was doing. I was in a lot of leadership positions, and so I learned from my background how to be a very good performer. Okay? I got very good at that, and I knew what it looked like, but I didn't know what it felt like. It took a long time to go through that experience and get to what she talked about, Lisa, at the beginning, that I got to a point after I left my corporate job, it was too broke to file bankruptcy. That is not a pretty place to be. That's when it gets really bad. I can remember sitting at my screen in the laptop, and I was looking at my calendar, and it was all packed for the week, right? All the meetings I was having, and something clicked in me, and I look at it, and I thought, none of it matters. None of it matters right now. I can go out there and do all of these things, and I'm going to end up in the same spot. Something has to change. So I went back and I reflected on all of those things that I loved and I did. And I said, where is it that I have gifts? What can I focus on? How can I show up in a different way and focus differently? And it took a while, but I figured it out. And I have a system that I would love to share with you today. When you're speaking, it's about two things. The first one is your shell. You can stand up and speak and have a great entertaining style, you can have a great voice, but if you don't have a structure, if you don't have the support and the process that you're going to put the talk through, and one of the things that I work with on people is this shell, this container. So you take your great stuff and you pour it into the system. So there's a way to do it where it brings out the best in you and you have fun doing it. So you have to have that system shell, right? The other thing, doesn't she look happy running? Anybody here a runner? I used to run. But doesn't she look so happy? Like she could talk to you about how great it is to run, and you'd want to run. Just looking at her, she looks like. So this attitude, this absolutely loving what you do, is really the key to how you show up in front of others and have them get interested in what you're doing. Because it's about talking what you do in a way that excites them. And how do you do that? What about it excites you? You gotta go back to the original thing. Go back to square one, ground zero, right? What is it about that? Why'd you get into this? What is it that you love? What is it about your whole life that you've been through that connects to what you're doing now? And you can start to see this thread line coming through everything. You go back and you look at that, and it brings you in a completely different place when you stand up and you speak in front of others. So think about this. Stop when you go back and you're at your office or your meeting. Stop and think about, okay, let's get back to the core. What is it that I'm about? What am I doing? What about it excites me? So you don't have that, no one else is going to get excited about it either. What is she looking at? I just had to put that in there because I look at this picture and I'm like, yeah. I don't think she's very excited about what she's doing, first of all. And I think she's kind of mad at this woman. And she looks a little perturbed too. So anyway, back to the thought. I just had to throw that in because I was always curious about her. I wanted to go and just talk to her and say, what's going on with you? Anyway, a detour. All right, so we know we want to do this. Sounds great, Maria. What do we do? What gets in your way? And I'm sure, in fact, I'll ask you, what gets in the way of you pursuing these, standing and getting into that place? What keeps you from doing it? From going really deep in and just opening up and sharing your core message? You're going to say something?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
Doubt?
Yes.
Certainty?
Absolutely.
Inadequacy?
Bingo. Anybody else relate to that? Fear of rejection. Right? We get up here and it's, I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. What if I forget? I got to look at all my slides. What comes after this? And then we do that. What if they laugh? What if they see like, oh my God, I really don't know what I'm talking about? They're going to find out. This is all this stuff that goes on in your head. And the constant challenge for us is how do we step aside from that? Because that's the number one thing that keeps us even beginning. Here's the others. Fear of success is one that we don't talk about often. Fear of success. What if I'm great? What if you get out there and you meet in front of some people and you've got 15 people that charge you afterwards and they love what you say and you're just on a roll and you meet people and they're like, hey, I saw your stuff, you're great. What if you're actually good? It's kind of scary. How's my life going to change? Is this really me? I don't deserve this. Fear of success is a real thing. So just think to yourself, did any of these kind of ring true for me? And I got to talk about the last one because I'm in recovering perfectionitis. Anybody recovered from that? Oh boy, you're so great at working. And you're working. It just gets better and better and better. And you're like, I'm so close. I'm so close. You work more and more, and it's just more and more, almost perfect. And you're so close. And that's it. That's all you do. You get so close. So I want to challenge you. If you do this, you may not even be knowing that you're doing it. You may be sitting and working, putting together something that you're going to do. You go get something to eat. You go check social media. Don't try to be perfect. My phrase is good enough. Is it good enough? If it's good enough, do it, get it out there, because action is much more important than perfection. And what happens? What happens when you dive in? What happens is people call you and they get really, really excited. See? Someone was really excited because they dove in. When you dive in, here's the things that happen. You rediscover your voice. You start to feel and see things in yourself and hear things in yourself that you hadn't before. And you start to speak with conviction and passion. How great would that be? You start trusting yourself. Isn't that a great place to be when you trust yourself? We don't always trust ourselves. No, I don't. Those days when I'm on and it's a good day, I'm trusting myself. That's where this kind of stuff can lead you. You have a path, you're not alone, and strangely, things in your life start to feel different. And you focus on your message, your voice, and that shell and the structure and how you're putting things together so that you can talk about what you do. It actually improves your whole life. And strangely, right? It's not just you giving a talk, is it? It's you standing up and sharing your life. This is it. This is my life. This is me. And I want to bring you in because I've got some good stuff for you. So your whole life benefits. All right. How? Terrific, Maria. That's great. How do I do this? I'm going to share with you, I'll show you briefly the system that I use. I mentioned that I had learned and over time built this system. I just call it the Speaking Mastery System. And I will share that with you. I'm going to go through some of those today. This is what I use when I work with people. And when I speak, I focus on whatever areas that would resonate most, that I think that you would benefit most from this today. So we're going to cover these, and I will just be completely transparent and tell you that, yes, I am going to offer something for you at the end of the course. Get that out of the way. I want to offer it to you because it takes you to those places that I talked about. So I try and tell as many people as I can about it because it's really powerful. So at the end, I will share that with you. So, how's this sound? You ready to dive into this stuff? Good. Hopefully that pizza is not going to put us into this food coma. I'm going to get you up and standing here in a little bit, so just forewarning. The very first circle, that center circle, know your why. Know your why. Why do you think this is important? Just throw out something. Why do you think it's important?
Passion.
Passion. What else? What does this mean to you? Know your why.
It's the anchor. Why you're doing it.
It's the anchor. It's why you're doing it. Absolutely. Know your why. It is the driving force behind your work. Why do you jump? He's making a big jump up there. That's a big jump for a goldfish. Why do you jump? What's the driving force? And the way this is helpful then is when you know your why, when you tap into it. And however you do that is how you can do that, right? Some people put a little picture up on their laptop of like Hawaii, want to take their kids to Hawaii, right? Or they put a picture up of just their kids, right, in sports because they want to be able to provide a certain life for their kids. Whatever that is for you, it's your why. Wrap yourself around it. When you go into work, you think about work and productivity and what's my message? I help others do blank or blank. Get all that, right? But stop and remember, wrap yourself into your why. There's a gentleman that I interviewed. The book that I have has 20 interviews of these great speakers. Their stories, techniques, it's jam-packed with really good stuff. Bill Stanton is out of Seattle. He won like 20-some Emmys. And he mentioned something in the interview that I like to mention to people because it's really spot on. It's kind of amazing when you become your authentic self. There's an energy that comes across. And even if you find you can lose it every now and then, you just gotta remember, this is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like, and this is who I am. Think of those moments when you are speaking. So who here does speak? Okay, so, all right. Okay. And the others, you probably get up in meetings, right? Or people standing that you are speaking to them in professional settings. Right? Think of a time when you have done that and it clicked. You were on, right? You knew what you were talking about. Everybody's like, yeah, that felt so good. Remember that. When you get in those moments, I have that moment, I'm like, oh, this is it, remember this. Bookends. I have to put in Bookends because does anybody like Simon and Garfunkel? Okay. Simon and Garfunkel is special to me because my mom and dad, my dad's no longer with us. He died 20-some years ago. But he was a lawyer, lived in a small town. And my mother was an RN, now she's a psychotherapist. But back then, they were young and crazy. They used to throw these parties. When I was a little girl, I remember them throwing these parties. I remember just sitting at the top of the stairs, the little kid peeking and watching it, sit at the top of the stairs, and I'd look down and I'd watch them, and I could just hear this, and I could smell the cigar smoke. My dad smoked cigars. This is way back, right, in the house. I'd see the cigar swirl up. I'd see the green shag carpet. Back then, I'd hear these voices and murmuring and laughing, and I'd always hear Simon and Garfunkel playing in the background. And the song that just turned me inside out was Bookends. If you don't know it, pull it up, Google it, and listen to it. Build your bookends. What do I mean by that? If you give a talk, there's an open, and there's a close, and then the great stuff in the middle. What's the more important things to focus on when you're putting your talk together and practicing and get up? What are the most important parts of the talk? What?
The guts of the whole thing, right? The whole reason you're up there speaking.
That absolutely. That's the why. Yes, absolutely. That's the why. The most important thing that you need to really get down, because you can be talking about that good stuff in the guts and kind of, work your way around, but you have got to completely get down the open and the close. Because people remember first thing and the last thing you say, primacy and recency. So whatever you're doing, even if you don't have the whole talk down, memorize the first 2-3 sentences. And it does wonders if you're nervous for speaking. You know what you're going to say when you get out there, but otherwise you're like, oh, what am I going to say? You have to think of it every time. Get down your open, get down your close. And there are ways to do this, and what I'm going to be talking about later, there's these as well. There's a whole list that I'm sharing here, but there's a lot of others. So opening, you want to start with a bang. You want to get their attention because the biggest, hardest thing to do today is to get people's attention. I mean, look at that. Somebody's trying to get me and I'm talking there. My phone's ringing. I'm like, ah! It's all about attention. And then at the end, you can do something that, I like to do something that is meaningful, right? And it ties into what we're doing. So that can be a quote, a story, a poem, prayer, song, whatever you want to do. Remember I mentioned earlier, you want to take all of that great stuff of what you're trying to do and the why, and you want to pour it into this structure, the shell, right? So you have this great stuff inside, you're an expert at it, and you're out there and you're helping people do that. How do you talk about it? How do you put the talk together? There's a certain way to do it. There's a certain map and a cadence and, a roadmap to the talk that you put together. and you reverse engineer. So you know what that means? It means you start with, what do I want them to do, feel, think, believe at the end of the talk? So then backing up, what do I need to cover in the talk to make sure that we get there? So it's reverse engineering. You guys, you've done this, right? Like maybe in college, you wrote a paper, read the first paragraph last. Whatever you do, don't wing it. If you think you're good at winging it, people can tell, first of all, and your luck runs out. So I will just say, if you're winging it, I highly recommend that at least for the opening, you memorize the lines. So that's what I'm going to cover on structure, because there's a lot, and I just wanted to point that out. That wasn't one of the circles for today, but I will have some questions at the end. So if you have a question about that now, write it down, and I would love to answer that for you. But the next circle on there, build emotional connection. So you come in, you've got your why, you got the start, you got the bang, boom, you're here. What's the first thing you need to do? You need to build emotional connection. Because it's all about how they feel. Everything in life is about how people feel. You don't think so because in business they don't really talk about that a lot. How do people buy? How do people buy a house? They love the house, and then they come up with these logical reasons why they should get the house. Justify it with logic. Everything. For people to really get something out of a talk, they have to feel. So how do you do that? How do you build emotional connection? These are the things that I captured when I spoke to those people from my book. There were things they all had in common. And these things were the main things that I captured. The one that really stands out for me that I wanted to share with you, they lay themselves on the line. When you're out speaking in front of people, it takes a lot of courage. That's like the bravest thing you can do. Just getting up there. Then you want to get it deeper and deeper to deeper levels where you show up more and more. And that's where I want to take you. Then everything's different. How do you do it? There's some questions that I always ask myself, and these might be helpful for you. So these writer-downers. The first one, when you go up, am I present? Stand there before anybody comes in. Am I present? Am I connected to what I'm going to say? Number two, if this was my last talk ever, how would I deliver it? Wow, right? Think of how you would deliver something for the last time. That'd be pretty different, wouldn't it? Tap into that energy. Wait until it's your last time. Will I share my feelings? Share your feelings. It opens up a whole different thing when you give a talk. And it gets you out of your head. It gets everybody out of your head. That's what you want to do. You want to get out of your head. We're stuck in our heads. And when you're doing it, when you're speaking, ask yourself, am I speaking to one person? That's what you want to do. You don't want to be speaking to the room and just kind of be moving around a lot. It's okay, it's not the end of the world. But what's more effective is if you lock in and you talk to just one person. One person. And you have a conversation. And that is how I remind myself to connect emotionally. I ask these questions. Does anybody else have an idea? Something that they do? If you do, I'd love to hear it, because particularly those of you who speak, if you have ideas, throw them out. I want to learn from everybody here. I'm not the only one who speaks, right? So I want to hear what you do as well. So in conversations that I had with Brian Tracy, it was pretty cool. He said his worst experience ever, and I asked each one, what was the biggest mistake you ever made? And he talked about this one time He said I'd given a talk hundreds of times. I totally knew the talk. And then I had to give it again. I hadn't given it in a little bit, and so I thought, pshaw, I know that talk. I know so much more about it than that. I'm not even going to look at it. I'll just go out there. He said he got into that talk, and he started asking questions, and he had no idea where he was. People were saying, you already asked them. He didn't know what came next. He said the wheels came off, and it was the worst experience he ever had. Never again. He was a preparation fanatic after that. If you read some of his stuff, practice, practice, practice. Here. Oh, and the other point around that is when you're nervous, have a trigger phrase. What do you think I mean by trigger phrase? When you're
brings you back to center.
What's that?
Something that brings you back to your center.
Perfect. Yes, exactly. That's why he came. So if you're up here and you start getting that feeling, have a phrase. And I heard somebody once say their trigger phrase. This is beautiful, and you can use it because I stole it too. I belong here. I belong here. Isn't that great? Pick your own. You can use that one. I have a trigger phrase. And really, this is about a conversation. It's a conversation. So I want to hear what you say, even when you're not speaking. We're having a conversation, aren't we? Right? Yeah, we're having a conversation. Right? Another woman that I interviewed, Nancy Jutton, she said, people in the audience don't want more information. We have Google. Google's my assistant. People say, do you have an assistant? I say, yeah, Mr. Google. I want to be inspired. I want information. So when you can get out of your head and into your gut, that's when you're going to really impact people. All right. I want to hear a couple of things. Just popcorn these out. What is the one thing you will do differently to build emotional connection? So we just talked about this. And think back. What struck you? It's something that you think you're going to try or do more of if you're already doing it.
Personal stories like you have.
Personal stories, huge. How did that feel when I told the story? Were you there with me on the stairs in the living room? Especially the green shag carpet. Oh my gosh, when I look back at those pictures, seriously. Yeah, and I think back to then of how my dad smoked cigars in the house. Wow. Yeah, it was all normal way, right? So stories. Anything else?
I noticed you were connecting with us before you even started your talk.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Connect with people before the talk because it's not just the talk. Right? It's before the talk, it's after the talk. I hope to keep connecting with you. You know, maybe some of you want to do this thing I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes. But it's all wonderful. The last circle, I think this was the last one on there. Deliver a performance. Now this doesn't get talked about a lot because sometimes people think, you know, they can go overboard. And you can, but you really are giving a performance. It's kind of like when you go to a really good play. You go to a play recently or a musical, it's like you're transfixed, right? You go into this whole other place. That's what you want to do with your talks. So deliver a performance. How do we do that? Anybody a Charlie Brown fan? We grew up with this. Yeah. When my kids are arguing, I just do that. I'm like, wah, 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 wah. They don't get it, but yeah. So this is, you want to avoid that. A dazzling delivery, how do you do that? It all starts clarity and connection. Connection to yourself, to your audience, and to your why. So I'm just going to throw these out here. There's 7. And maybe you can look at these and see which one resonates with you. I got a bunch here on the list. This is my list, right? So number 1, not making it about them. It's really easy to get up here and say, you know, let me tell you about these things that I did. I worked in all these companies, and what I do is my company's X years old, and you just want to talk about yourself, look at all these great things I did, blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. I'm sorry, they don't care about that for you, and they don't care about that for me. That's just the truth of the matter. They want to be moved. Not having a call to action. Do you make sure that you have a call to action? And that can be as simple as, I want you to think differently about this when you walk out the door. It doesn't have to be something they do. Although today, I want you to. Call to action. The next one is too much movement. Anybody do that? Like all parts of your body, not just like walking, but you're fidgeting, you're moving around, or not purposeful movement. So this means when you're speaking and you have a point you want to make, you want to lead up to that point and then stop. I'll show you what I mean. So there are 7 pitfalls to a presentation, and the first one is not making it about them. Okay? So you can walk, but if you're going to make a big point, plant. You want to plant yourself, because that's solid. Then the point you're making drops. Right? Not loud enough, no variety, racing through. Anybody race through? A self-proclaimed racer. Just telling facts and not having interaction. Which pitfall is your number one? Or maybe it's not even on the list. Maybe you don't have any of them. Maybe you're fantastic. And maybe you don't have to say what it is, but can you relate? Does anybody have one? Okay. Think about that. And the storytelling is this is one of the critical pieces of a talk, because really a talk is one big story. Tell a story. So if you can tell a story in a way that moves people into that place, like I was doing, we talked a little bit about it, right? It involves sensory. You want to use sensory words. Did you notice when I talked about that, I said the cigar smoke swirling in the air, the smell of it, the carpet, sitting on the stairs. Use your body when you tell a story. The turn at the end means a lot of people say to me, I don't have any stories, or is it okay to tell this story? My answer is usually, what's important is not necessarily the story, it's how it relates to the point you're trying to make. Right? So, I made a point, and I talked about that thing with my parents, and the key is you say something at the end that brings it around. Right? So how many of you have experienced that? Or the key is how you link it in. Your voice creates a melody. And the 4 things I want to share on voice. The fact that when you speak, it's a melody. So you want to remember that this is actually an instrument. Right? I played the saxophone. There's like a saxophone here. It's a long tube, the air comes through it, and then it plays. It's an instrument. Play around with it. You go up the stairs and then go down the stairs. You have so much power with your voice. Articulate is kind of ties in with not being loud enough, but sometimes people are loud enough, but they don't articulate. You know what the key with that is? You gotta move your face. A lot of people don't like to move their face. You gotta move your lips and move your face, because it makes you a little bit more vulnerable, doesn't it? You gotta move and show up, and that's scary for some people. And then pause. What's the phrase? Yes, power of the pause. And I don't recall if I mentioned this, but I will say it again in case I didn't. I will say it again in case I did. So when you're speaking, the eye contact piece. This is a little technique that I use. It's look, move, speak. Right? So you connect one-on-one. Like I said, you want to look right out and have a conversation. Then you're going to move around the room. So I want to look at someone, move over, speak. I say something to them, very lovely today. And then as I continue making my point, I want to move and I look and I talk to somebody else. I have a conversation with you. And then I decide, where am I going to go over here? I turn and I continue and I talk to them, right? So that's it. You just need to shift your body, move, pick a new person, right? It's to individuals, it's to people, not to the crowd collective. And I call it gestures. What do they do with their hands? I have just, woo! The one thing I say about gestures is just being able to do what, when you're talking freely, not in front of a group, what do you do with your hands? Like this, when you ask a question, you just want to go like this, right? So make them natural. You typically want to kind of keep them in rather than going like this, kind of keep them in. And you want to keep your palms faced forward or open. All right, I'm going to skip this because I want to make sure, I told you about this earlier, and I want to make sure and take time for you on this because this is really cool. And everything that we talked about that those circles, there's several other circles, right? So it's coming up with the shell, the delivering with, the emotional connection, delivering a performance, but there's also how to talk and make offers, how to walk away with referrals and leads and clients. How do you do all of that and get ROI from a talk? And then how do you get booked? Right, so there's a lot more to it, so I wanted to make sure and just tell you about this because we won't have time to do it all today. So this program that I'm going to be doing is going to help you get people get interested in what you have to say. So in the very beginning, it said, what would you get out of this? You get interested in what you have to say, you stand out, people see the value, and you get more advanced speaking skills. It's called Standing Room Only, How to Give a Talk that Stands Out and Delivers Results. It's everything that we've been talking about, but it takes it and just really scrubs it. We go deep and you walk out of there transformed with your talk. So let me give you a quick few details. What is it? It's a full-day experience. And I didn't spend a ton of time on this, but speaking is the fastest way to grow your business. Speaking is a way to add instant credibility to what you do when you get up in front of people, right? Because you become the expert. So if you're not speaking, I highly encourage you just kind of dabble in it. And just get out there and start doing it. It's the most efficient way to grow your business. It's what I like to call the fastest path to cash. So that is what we focus on in this as well. Of course, you can kind of see I'm no fun at all. I'm really laid back. Encouraging, fun, safe. You can really grow. And I give very spot-on feedback. And like you said, it's not just the event. There's pre-work and discussion and connection. And then we come in and we talk about these things and we work on it. And then afterwards, there's follow-up. So it's kind of like you go through this whole experience. And it's an investment because you deserve it. And when you look at these kinds of things, it's kind of hard to always make these decisions because our mind is going, oh, should I do it? Oh, she's selling. So whatever choice you make, I just want to say this. Just listen to whatever little voice is in you. If something in you is saying, there's something to this, I think this is important. Just follow up on it. Just talk to me and don't let that go. Because that's when things really happen for you, is when you follow those. So whatever decision you make, but just follow that voice if you have it. These are the things that we learned. I kind of went over this. We're going to cover in each one. So let me give you the details. Can I share that with you? All right. It's a full day. The value is $12.97. But because I love my office center community, for you, it's $4.97. $4.97 for the day. And you can sign up today for $97. And it will really turn some things around for you. It's Thursday, August 2nd. So hopefully that works for anybody who is interested. And there's a central location to be announced. So this is the details. And this is the fun stuff. You get more stuff. You get a copy of my book. And when I say Rolodex, I mean anything that you need as part of getting your story and talk together to really drive your business. I have these resources all lined up and vetted for you, right? So if you need, who does this? A good person to videotape my talk. I have that also. You have access to my Rolodex. And then there's a social media bonus of some sort. It's either promoting a talk or event that you have in my community, or a testimonial, if you want a testimonial or something. Now here's the big kicker, and I left this for last. There is a woman, her name is Cheryl Bernstein, and she is a renowned clarity coach and visionary strategist. And she is amazing. She takes anything that you're trying to figure out, and she works you through it in the calmest, transformational way. And she has kindly added this as a bonus that you get an entire hour clarity session with her. And that alone is a lot. And the first 4 registrants, it's only $3.97. Just kind of throwing that in right at the end. So, any questions on the details? Okay, if you do, I'm going to be sticking around. But going back, moving forward, you're going to want to practice, right? And here are the ways to practice. And I'm going to leave you with a thought right after this. And I left practice for the end because I wanted to be top of mind. Practice, 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 right? Like Brian Tracy said, you want to record your stuff. All you got to do, put your cell phone up, just go like this, push record, go hi, I'm giving my talk, boom, right? And you go back, you play it back, and there's 4 ways you want to play it back. You want to turn the volume off, and you want to just watch it. Wow, is that revealing? Anybody ever do this? Ah! And then you want to turn the volume on and just listen. Then you want to play it and fast forward. And if you didn't notice anything that you were doing before, you will then. Because you'll notice if you do if you always go like this, right? You're like, oh my God, my hand's like always going up, like every 3 seconds. Whatever it is. So, those are the ways to practice. And practice in chunks, right? So you don't, I clearly did not have this word for word, right? But I had sections, I had chunks. So any questions on practice that you want before we wrap up? Because I wanted to give you some good things to take and do. Questions on practice? If you do, let me know. This is a big one. Remember these? Don't let these get in the way. You all, I know many of you, and you all have very strong voices and messages. And so my parting thought for you is when I was out in a mastermind a few years back in California. Yes, that's real glass. So my parting thought is the only way to reach your big goals is to take the first step. Take your first step. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Did we get some great gold nuggets or what?
Yeah.
Woohoo! And now we get to talk about what we're doing for our amazing fearless leaders in the house. She's joining us all the way from Woodbury. We talked about the August 9th is going to be our big grand opening at Woodbury. Lori's pretty much lived there in the last few months, so we haven't had an opportunity to see her. So she can add to the things that are going to be fun and what's going on. Tomorrow we're going to kick off, we have Blackjack Friday as we do at the end of every month. And at all 6 locations, you stop at the front desk and all you have to do is play cards and you might be your lucky day. So we give away $50 or we give away the free lunch. We're going to be closed on the 4th or the holiday, and then Park Connections is also canceled. We won't get to see you on the 5th, Carrie, John. We're gonna be missing you though. We'll be back on August 2nd. The following week on the 10th, we have our France Office Center on Court. We're gonna welcome all of our new members, as we always do, to our Office Centers community. On the 17th, we're rocking the house. This is a must attend. We have just partnered now to do we're gonna have a training session with our Google expert, Ben Tice, from 10 to 11:30. And then we get to have our Red Savoy second awesome pizza luncheon.
We're at Woodbury.
We probably had what, Lori?
Oh, you gotta come to it.
We had like 35, 40 people at the very first one. So word has gotten around Woodbury that it's the thing to do.
Yeah.
And then the 18th, we're hosting our Windspired Luncheon back here at Minnetonka. The 19th, we're at International Plaza for our New Business Minnesota Advisory Board again. So that's a must attend. And then it's back here for PowerLunch, and that's the 26th of July. Rob Bredding, Rev Advisory Group, is going to speak on creating impact that matters. So that's a month from now. It'll seem like tomorrow. Co-working month, whole month of August, we have something every day, correct?
Every day during the month of August. And anyone who wants to come, we have our first happy hour. That means bringing your dog-friendly happy hour over at Woodbury. We're gonna have that the first Friday. And so we've got tons of things happening. Please check the calendar because even I don't know all the things. And then stay tuned because there might be some other really exciting stuff coming our way.
All good. There's always something fun. We're raising the roof as always at Office Center. Everybody, thanks for being here and have a great day. And again, we're happy. Thank you. Great job.
I raffle off the book, so if you want to win a book, go ahead and, sorry.